Much that once was is lost, for none now live who remember it.
Change is in the air at St Andrews. Rumours have been flying around concerning the sale of the club, and it's fair to say no one really knows what's going on. 1 minute a deal is done, the next thing it's a load of old codswallop. In this video, I'm going to take a whistle-stop tour through the two main parties that have publicly registered their interest in buying the club, and do a little overview of what has happened so far. Currently, the two camps are Bassini and Lopez. One is a wheeler-dealer type with a shady footballing background, and the other is a reasonably successful former footballer with the backing of a Birmingham-based businessman. My friends, welcome back to TCFC. My name is Tom, and today we're talking takeovers.
TCFC.
So let's start with Bassini. Who is this guy? Son of Emilio, or Don Bassini as he likes to be known, who is one of the heads of the so-called five families of the New York Mafia. Lawrence Bassini, much like his father, has a somewhat checkered past. He's a former owner of Watford Football Club, and to say his time at Watford was shrouded in controversy is an understatement. He was mired in accusations of financial irregularities and dishonesty, culminating in him being banned from football for 3 years. So far, so good. He also liked to wear a red builder's hat while doing interviews for Watford, so hopefully if he becomes owner of Birmingham City, he'll end up wearing a blue one. Bassini's involvement in football doesn't end there. He also attempted to buy Oldham, Charlton, Bolton and Portsmouth, all when the clubs were at their lowest ebb. Not to mention Watford were also in dire straits when he bought them. He ultimately backed off from Pompey due to their desire for fan involvement in running the club, and he also promised vital funds to Bolton at the time when they absolutely needed them most. Unfortunately for Bolton, the funds never materialised, and we all know what happened to Bolton after that. To me, he sounds like a bit of a chancer who looks to pick up dying clubs and make a quick buck, and he's obviously smelt the rotting carcass of Birmingham City an absolute mile off. His business acumen isn't limited to football, as he's had multiple enterprises before Watford, but without exception they were all dissolved, leading to his bankruptcy. And it was this bankruptcy that led him to change his name. Trustworthy people are always changing their name. So whilst it appears that Bassini is a fairly dodgy character, he does deny all wrongdoing, not surprisingly. He also has backing from a surprising and legitimate source. In a fairly bizarre interview on TalkSport on the 15th of June, Bassini himself stated he is financially backed by David Sullivan to some degree. Now I find that quite surprising due to the bad feeling between the club and Sullivan after he sold us to Carson Young way back when. However, it sounds like it's legitimate, as Sullivan hasn't spoken out against his involvement, and I'm fairly sure he would if it was a lie. Now I'm not sure how I feel about all of this. On the one side, Sullivan, Gold and Brady, they transformed the club and their business acumen cannot be questioned. However, I just find it a bit strange. Why does he want to go back to a club which he was forced out of for only a minority share, and I'll get to that in a bit. It all just smells a bit funny to me. Bassini also mentioned on the TalkSport interview that there was a woman involved who has experience in football and is well respected. With a description like that and the involvement with Sullivan, I can't help but think of Karen Brady, but in reality it's more likely to be Rebecca Vardy, as Brady has distanced herself from the role. So we've looked at who he is and who his friends are, but what's actually happened so far? Essentially, he has agreed to buy 21% of the club by buying Von Petsch's Oriental Rainbow Investments Company. It is also said that Bassini has also acquired the stadium and is looking to buy more of the club, allegedly. Whether Mr. King is actually looking to sell the rest of the club is up for debate. Ultimately, this will not mean that Bassini has a controlling stake in the club, and nothing has been signed to say that he will take control of the club in the future apart from possibly a gentleman's agreement. A statement has been made from the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, meaning the deal is potentially on, and we are basically just waiting on approval from the ever diligent owners and directors test. In order to pass this test, he must prove that he not only has the funds available, but enough money for next season as well, which amounts to about 65 million. There is one other small matter that he needs to sort, and that's actually stumping up the cash, something that he's had problems with in the past when trying to buy football clubs. Since the initial excitement and statement of agreement, it's gone a bit quiet. The deal obviously hasn't been finalised, and one can't help but think he's having trouble getting the cash together, which is rather typical for Bassini. There's talk that the EFL don't like the fact that Sullivan is involved, or even Bassini himself. All rumour and speculation, but things do seem to have halted. Apparently, the deadline for getting this sorted is the 30th of June, which at the time of recording this video is tomorrow. Now, the other party involved say they are just waiting for the deal to fall apart. So let's talk about them. A consortium led by Maxi Lopez and Paul Richardson, days after the initial Bassini announcement, also announced they were one step away from completing the sale. But who are they? Paul Richardson is a Birmingham City fan and a very successful businessman to boot. He was a director of the wildly successful gym accessories company Gymshark, currently worth $1 billion, and is the current owner of Hera London, a clothing retailer. In 2019 they had a turnover of 5 mil, and Richardson has stated that he wants to have the company valued at 100 million within 5 years. Clearly he has good business sense and is ambitious, perhaps the kind of business sense that Bassini lacks, although I'm not sure the kind of money Hera London is generating is necessarily enough to buy a football club. Richardson's partner is Maxi Lopez, a former footballer who had a decent career, with his most famous moment scoring for Barcelona against Chelsea to give Barcelona the lead. They would ultimately lose the tie in a brilliant encounter at Stamford Bridge, but a good moment nonetheless. Lopez was more of a number 10 than a striker, truthfully, the kind of striker that doesn't score many goals, perfect for Blues. The Richardson-Lopez consortium has been quieter than Bassini's, apart from some ludicrous talk about Blues signing Diego Costa in the future. So we don't have as much info to chew on as we do at Bassini, but from what I've read, they are waiting in the wings to see what happens with the Bassini deal. They seem to feel that Bassini's deal is bound to fall apart, at which point they're going to try and swoop in. So I've talked to the two parties. Personally, I don't think we have enough information from either of them to truly make a call about which is better. I would say that the Lopez-Richardson consortium seems to have a more sensible and measured approach and has the backing of the Blues Trust, whatever that's worth. Bassini seems more erratic and potentially more dodgy based on his past and the TalkSport interview. But he has visited the ground to inspect the repairs, and if he does have the backing of Sullivan, he does have the backing of a very rich and legitimate businessman. So who knows? Let me know who you prefer to take over Birmingham City in the comments. Thanks for watching. I've been Tom. This is TCFC. If you've enjoyed this and would like to see more, I've got some fantastic Birmingham City content on the channel. Lists, songs, you name it. Have a look, and if you like it, give it a subscribe and like the video while you're there. Keep right on and have a nice day.